And we're live.
See, I think maybe part of like why like my experience is different than you guys is like I worked with my dad like and did a man's work from the time I was like 11 or something like that. Like putting fucking shingles on roofs and like doing carpentry and PVC work and like climbing under houses and like working. Like you'd go and you would work all day. And like my dad always had like some flunky that was also hired to work. And I would outwork the flunky as a 12 or 13-year-old. And it was like, I think and I wasn't getting paid. You know, I didn't get paid until I was like 15 or something like that, when it was like, yeah, you have a reason to have money now. Because like, what's a 14-year-old need money for anday? You know, like
you can't go anywhere.
You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. But a 15-year-old, he's got some reasons to have some fucking money. And a 16-year-old certainly does. So like, then I started getting paid a little bit. But like, we would do like these big overhaul projects sometimes. Like I remember one time we did this thing where we were just like, I've talked this before with like poultry houses, how like we were retrofitting them. And it was this like, it was 2 or 3 weeks of solid work, 10 hours a day of carpentry and like insulation and PVC and like lots of hammer and nail work. And I remember he paid me $14 an hour. And he paid the Mexican guys that were working with us $12 an hour. And I was like the foreman. And I took that super seriously. I was like every time I saw them being lazy, I was like, come on, we got to get back to it. Come on. Like I ran the fucking crew. And I don't know, I took it super seriously.
That was like just during the summer.
It wasn't a man's work. The employers in my area were about the beach and the boardwalk.
Yeah.
So it was a teenager's work, you know?
Yeah. I like that's why I've got like all those stories of like gruesome fucking injuries growing up and all these like ridiculous scars and stuff. Cause like, I don't know. I was always cutting myself open or smashing a finger or like getting attacked by wasps or something like that. It was an interesting childhood, but it taught me a lot of like work ethic, I guess. Like I was thinking today about like the times and like, you know, you think about those times in your past that make you cringe, like when you did something wrong or you fucked up. And I was saying there was this one day when like we were working and I had to go home and take a shit. And I went back home and I was so exhausted because I hadn't slept the night before. I was like 15. And I just like climbed into the bed to like try to like catch a little sleep, but I fell completely asleep. And like my dad came home. He had done all the work by himself, and he came home and he was just like, "What happened? What happened?"
It's a good question, right? It's a good opener.
Yeah. What happened? And I'm just like, I thought I'd just like lie down for a minute, and I don't know. What time is it? He's like, "What fuck? What? Why does it matter what time it is? The work's over. We're done. We're done for the day." I'm like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. And I was just thinking about how embarrassing that was. Like how bad I felt that I had like left him in a pinch, you know, to do all my work and his work too. Like I thought about that today. I was in traffic today and I thought about that. It made me feel bad. But I don't know. We were always working growing up. So it was just like,
just during the summer you were doing this or during the school year also?
Well, I was homeschooled for a couple of years. So it was all day, every day.
What years were those? I'm curious.
6th grade and 7th grade. So I would have been like,
did you go to high school
13 maybe?
So you didn't homeschool at high school?
That was middle school. So like 6th grade and 7th grade. And then I went to 8th grade, and then high school is 9, 10, 11, 12. Right. So like I did all that, of course. I came back in 8th grade. I was having so many issues in 6th grade that they just pulled me out very early in 6th grade.
Like bullying issues?
Yeah. I had this problem with this one kid, and it was literally like that shit they talk about on Reddit all the time about how like as soon as you defend yourself, you're the problem. Like against a bully or something like that. And there was just like this fucking bully that was just a fucking piece of shit that I had a problem with. And like whatever I did, he seemed to take issue with it and was just constantly like fucking with me. Like he would end up sitting behind me in classes, just like, you know, flicking my ear or whatever the fuck. And like when you finally stand up to him, now you're the violent one who's like needs some sort of parent teacher conference. So they just pulled me out. And what was funny was like I was at a football game. I don't know how long it was after I had been homeschooled, but like that guy like confronted me again, and I beat the shit out of him in front of like a bunch of people. And it was like, I don't know. It's one of the happiest moments.
Treat you better than him?
What?
Did puberty treat you better than him? Like,
yeah. I was a good like 3 or 4 inches taller at this point. Like he was. Yeah. He looked like a short Eminem or something like that. And I'd been working on the farm for 2 years or whatever the fuck. And he just got his shit pushed in
like
one day.
Rocky 2ing this.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, I don't want to like, it wasn't like I was like teeing this guy up or anything. I caught him one good time in the mouth, and like his mouth was bleeding. And for like a 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade fight or whatever it was, I really don't remember. Like that's a KO, right? And I just remember everybody was cheering, and it really was like one of those Reddit moments, and everyone clapped.
Wow, Kyle's gonna keep us safe from the bullies.
It really was like that, though. And like my dad,
and then they brought me a crown made of a trapper keeper.
I swear to God, this thing. And then my dad walked up, and he's like, and like my dad, of course, like is well versed in like my problems with this guy, like going back, and he's like, look at that little son of a bitch now, look at him now. And it was just, he was proud of me. And
meanwhile, your dad's been Mr. Miyagiing you on the floor for 2 years.
He's just like swinging the fucking hammer. For 2 years, I've been swinging that fucking hammer. It was like there's a Johnny Cash song about that's just like that, about like working all these years when Oni's been sitting up there getting soft, and I've been working hard building muscles, and it's his last day of work, and he's tired of being bullied, and he's gonna beat the shit out of Oni, who's his like the manager or whatever. But yeah, I beat the shit out of that guy, and because it was a school event, he was in trouble. Like he was gonna get suspended from school because we're at the football game. But I'm homeschooled. Dad's like,
silly witch, you have no power here.
You have no power here. My dad's like, nah, he's coming up here with us to watch the rest of the football game. Like to the principal or whoever the authority figure was or whatever the fuck. And it was just like, they take him away and they're gonna they kick him out of the game. It was a good day.
Did you ever have to get like summer jobs like Sonic or something, or was there always just so much work to be done?
Always so much work to be done. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, you got to work alongside your dad like that.
Yeah, I always grew up like driving tractors and driving trucks and tractors and trailers and all that stuff, like cutting hay and baling hay and all that stuff, like farmer shit.
Yeah, my summer jobs in high school, like, I guess it was, I only had to after I could drive. So like 16, 17, 18 summers. And that was initially like, I would have been that was the story where I went and I tried to work at Ben and Jerry's, and they told me I was hired after getting 8 full hours of making waffle cones out of me. And then they told me that they actually closed, and thank you for trying out. And so, so that
What's
sucked.
The word for that? We learned it with Danny Mullen.
Oh, there was some French word for like a tryout, but it was like 15 minutes in, they're like, you're a natural at the waffle cone thing. And I'm like, it kind of does it for me. I kind of just pour it in there. But then my job from then on was, I was always a pretty competitive goalie in ice hockey, as you two know. And so my summer job then was like this camp recruited me to be like a coach. And that was just my job for summers from then on out, which was pretty awesome because there was something about being like, when like, if you're not a hockey player, you don't know, but like the coach is out there with just skates. The goalie coach is out there with just the lower body pads and then like a windbreaker. And I always thought like at like 14, like, oh, those guys are so cool. They're like, and I'm like looking at a 17-year-old at 14, like a grown up. And then like when I got to be that guy, I'm like, damn, I'm fucking tight. Like I'm teaching kids how to butterfly, how to handle the puck and everything. And that was a great summer job. It was fun.
I coached a swim team in college in the springtime, and it was taught at my collegiate pool. Like the kids would come and they'd say the thing, and it wasn't really like coaching. These kids were so young. It was a little past learn to swim, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm training them up to become Olympians, but it was a big deal that my name was on the wall on the record board, like while I'm coaching them. There were a couple of us. If there were 6 coaches, like 2 or 3 of us were record holders at the school. And it just felt like that was the most badass thing. Like when he introduced us to the parents, he'd be like, do you see that Matt Woodworth? That's the guy right there. And,
you want to know my silliest summer job? I think I watched Jeremiah Johnson, or like one of those like old timey like trapper movies, like about a wilderness survival man.
Okay.
And I became like interested in traps, like fur trapping.
Yeah.
This sounds absurd. Like what year is it? And so like I
2003.
This is literally like 1999 or 1998. And like one of the farmers nearby had this issue with beavers, like going into like their corn or their wheat or whatever. And I went and bought beaver traps, and I literally like trapped beaver for them for $10 a beaver. Yeah. I trapped. I mean, look, I didn't make a living out of doing it or anything. But
how many did you get? Do you think?
I don't remember how many.
He's still a bit of a beaver aficionado, if we're honest.
Yeah. And he still traps them in his own way with threats.
Kyle's pretending not to get our jokes, but I think he's with it.
That trapping beavers is a very funny thing to do. Why beavers? Was it just like
because
that's the only thing they needed trapped, and so
that's the only thing they needed trapped? And I don't really feel sorry for them. But I just remember like they were like, I heard these farmers talking about how they had this beaver problem, and I was like, Dad, do they make traps for beavers? He's like, I don't know. And we went to like Bass Pro Shop or something like that and asked, and they're like, yeah. And a beaver trap looks weird. It's this weird, funky trap. And
it's not a square with a little door inside that falls behind them.
Oh no, it kills them. It's one of those. It's not a live
trap. Like
trap.
A bear trap?
It's a little like a bear trap, but it's shaped very differently. At least I'm sure there's different kinds, but the one I had was like wonky. But yeah, I trapped beaver for them at like $10 a head. And I just remember like how awkward the negotiation was with this man. Because like, let's see, if it was like 1997 or 1998 or something, I was like 12, 13 or something. And I just remember approaching this farm. Yeah, there it is. That's literally it. like I don't know about you, but as a 12-year-old, I looked at that and I was like, so is somebody going to teach me how to use this? Or?
I need a lesson right now.
I need a lesson right now, and I've used one before.
Okay. It looks like maybe you pull it wider so it becomes kind of a cube, and then maybe they
the
trigger
part that's
the
on
two
top
things hanging down.
The parts on top you pull away from each other, and then it expands the springs on the side.
Like you could just beat the beaver to death with it.
You definitely could. But I remember
that trap is like the end of the beaver when it steps in it, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you didn't take them out and like release them. You're just showing up with like beavers in your hands. Like this is 10 here and 10 here. And there's some in my truck back there.
I would show up every time I had a beaver and I'd be like, here you go, Doug, I got another one. And he'd give me $10. And like that year I caught, I don't know how many beaver, but it was enough, for like, again, I was like 12, 13, 14, definitely wasn't even 14, probably 12 or 13. So like $10 was a big deal. It was like, oh, this is fucking candy money. We're going to make it rain. It was, it was a big fucking deal to get like $10 extra on top of everything else. Yeah.
That was like, real money at that age.
And I was kind of working for it. I don't know. It was kind of cool. And again, like I had gotten this whole idea from watching. If nobody out there has seen Jeremiah Johnson, it's the meme that you've all seen where like it zooms in on the wilderness man and he just goes,
oh, now I know.
Yeah, the nod.
It's the nod. It's the bearded wilderness man giving you the nod. It's that meme. It's there's this part at the end where he's been spending all winter learning to be a mountain man, and the guy comes back that had seen him when he first started, when he was bad at it. And he's like, "You've come a long way, pilgrim." And he just goes, "It feels like a long way." Because it has been. It's been the hardest winter of his life. He's had to like scrape for every calorie he's eaten, every little bit of warmth that that has like kept him alive. He's had to grind for it. He's had fires go out. He's scrambled in the creek for fish. I want to say that the Indian named him "White Man Who's Bad at Fishing" or something like that. like he ended up you hope that your Indian name is going to be like "Stand Strong Like Bear" or something like that, or like "Wild Man." But he's like,
your name is Weeping Pussy.
They name him like Bad Fisherman or something like that, because he's just like in the creek trying to like get the trout out. Like, no, Jeremiah Johnson, great movie, and it inspired me as a 12-year-old to become a trapper for a while.
You're like, I think they say history repeats itself. We're about to enter another era of trapping as a primary source of income.